All right. All right. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's see. All right. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, oh, right at it. Good, good. Yeah, because I had a problem the last time we did this. Okay, we got the little, yeah, yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go. We're back at it. We're back at it again. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. How about these playoffs, man? How about these damn playoffs? Let me get set up. Let me get set up for a minute. Okay. I'm in the studio. I know it's tacky. Oh, no, 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 no. Oh, here we go. This shit. Okay. These scrollers. Yeah, I just don't do that kid shit. Too much politics on here. They say you can say what you want today. Technically, you can't, though. You can't say what you want. You can't say what you want. You can't say what you want. Yeah, this off here. Yeah, I'm watching Colin Cowherd in the background, but YouTube TV and things like that nature, and it's been real, man. It's been real. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, this is Daily Hump Dump, the 20 was it the 28th edition? Yeah, the 28th edition, and yeah, we're still here, and work in progress and things like that nature, and it's a lot of things going on. Yeah, I had to scroll that. Yeah, yeah, she's getting on my nerves like that. Barely post her body like come on, man. These hoes on the internet, they just crazy. Yeah, next month's gonna be crazy. Next month I'll be right at the age, I got to take care of myself, make sure I'm healthy and all that other stuff. Yeah, it's gonna be a long thing, and I'm approaching 401. Oh, it's gonna be a different world. It's gonna be a different world. You have to look at the things different now, and you just, all right, yeah. All right. But you know what that means. You gotta make sure your shit's right. That's just the part of the game, and you stay with it, and you be like, all right, we're gonna get real here. See, one thing about me, I noticed that the playoffs is crazy, just like I predicted. Like I have Minnesota beating the Lakers, even if they lose the series. The Lakers ain't win the next round. But shouts out to Ticket TV and everybody else. Yeah, this NBA playoffs is, man, it's been crazy. I got the Clippers beating the Nuggets. I don't even care for the Nuggets like that. But if the Nuggets do win, like I said, if they do win, I just don't see them go further. They're gonna get beat by any of these teams like Minnesota, Golden State. I just don't trust Denver. That lineup, they're not the same team. They're gonna get smoked by OKC. May be a good team. I don't know, because if they do well this year, oh, Jokic is going home. Yeah, I don't care how. I just don't see it. But the Knicks gave the game away. If the Knicks fuck around and let Detroit back in this series, that says a lot about the Knicks. That Carl Anthony Towns, I try to tell you who lost that trade. Me personally, Minnesota won that trade because they're not going to get him back. So Stephen A. Smith said, "Oh, they're gonna get DiVincenzo back. They're not getting him back. If Minnesota go further this year to the conference, nah, they keeping him. The Knicks are done." Because if something happens to the Knicks and they get bounced in the second round, we already know it's more disappointment. I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I respect certain players that used to play for the Knicks, but that shit is wild to me. Wild to me. Whew, this shit. So I gotta watch TNT tonight with Golden State Warriors and Houston. I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna catch the Minnesota game and the Lakers game. These ought to be good ones, and tomorrow will be a good one as well. Some crazy times, crazy future. It's been a minute, man. We talked about a whole lot. Talked about a whole lot. So we got certain individuals on YouTube being suckers as usual, and you got these simps complaining about these hoes on the internet, and like they always do. And I think the country has been on class for years since Trump got in there. It's over. People are divided. They're trying to get the petitions, try to get them up out of there, and I understand why, because it's who y'all voted for. This is who I didn't vote for the motherfucker, but if you voted for him, that's on you. Y'all got to take the responsibility. Like I said, America wants and I said this, was it last year and years ago? I said this country is so utilitarian. It's not even funny. Me and Cerulean talked about this probably about what, 4 years ago. That's a long damn time, bro. That culture has never died in America. Let me tell you something. America's one of them cultures that you really got to understand that people gonna do what they're gonna do. Yeah, Trump's, a lot of people try to say he's doing the tariffs thing. A lot of people don't know he's responsible for 95% of the tariffs he did in his first term. And then they try to blame it on Biden. Biden would continue it. So it's really Trump's legacy. He's a money guy. And most people say he's a good bit. No, he's just a con man. He don't care nothing about y'all. He care about himself. I don't care for Trump. I tell people all the time. Anybody follow Trump is an idiot. They're worse than if you want to talk about a sports sense, the cult fight. Look at LeBron James fans that Too Raw for TV and Ticket TV be talking bad about. And it's the truth because that is a fair comparison. Yes, it's a cult following. Anything. I don't matter if you're LeBron, the current prez that y'all call, your God and shit. He ain't shit no way. All of them. Even the Kobe Bryant cult following. They thought he was the next Michael Jordan. That didn't happen. I mean, I respect Kobe's career. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm not a big Kobe Bryant fan whatsoever. I respected his game and everything else. I'll say he's like my favorite villain that he went against my teams. I treat him as a villain. But I had to give him respect and adulation. Rest in power and peace to him. He got an Oscar and everything. It's a shame how it didn't out. But I ain't gonna get into that '04 incident that kind of tarnished him in my top 3. But I had to put him in my top 5 in my GOAT conversation. He's in the top 5. Yeah, he's right behind Magic. So he's in the 4th spot. And then I got Kareem. It's 3 Lakers, 1 Bull, and should I say Warriors, Sixers. I'll say Warriors / all the way to the Lakers. He played for the Warriors, Sixers, and Lakers. You know who I'm talking about. The man that had all the stats. The originator. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Mr. Number 13 himself. Y'all know. Out of Kansas. He's my GOAT. I stand on that. I don't care what nobody say. Yeah, Mike's right behind him. But if I took him off the list, put Mr. North Carolina 23, that was born in Brooklyn, New York. His people's from the Carolinas. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I always say he's number 1. If you take that other guy off 13 on put 23, who you got? See? You see how simple it is, and then Magic's right behind him. That's my thing. But I mentioned everybody, like top 10 on down. But if you talk about top 5, you already know. That's why I stand on it. Now, this other dude, what they call him, LeBum. I call him LeBiscuit, biscuit head motherfucker. Your boy, your so-called queen or god or whatever, he's killing the Lakers, man. Like when I saw that series from start to, a lot of people didn't believe Minnesota was going. I saw every game of that series. I saw game 1 how they destroyed them. They didn't believe in them, and plus they was in the Western Conference Finals that year. And number 2, they lost game 2 because they played horrible, and Lakers found their weakness. JJ Redick still can't coach worth a damn. And game 3, they got them, exposed them at Minnesota. But that game 4 was epic. Man, that shit is wild to me, man. That now the Lakers could have tied the series, but they didn't. So it goes a lot about. It all has to do with coaching. Coaching is the number 1 factor in this game, and Chris Finch has been destroying this dude, and he kept them guys playing for 40 minutes. Ain't that some shit, though? Ain't that some shit? And then you expect them to play tremendously well. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, how can you lead those guys for 40 plus minutes and then not give them no rest? And he trusts them guys. He's trying to do the old style. That shit don't work, JJ. You're a role player. You always been a fucking role player. He can't coach worth a damn. He was a shooter. That's all he knows. He don't know nothing about being an NBA coach or basketball coaching and coaching. I had different plays, different players rotate, let the players coach themselves. I'll be a mix. I'll be an X and O's guy, and then also I'll be a chemistry coach, give them some balance on plays, run screens, and get the ball in the basket. Know who you're working with. That's what I would have done. This is not 2K. See, JJ Redick thinks this is 2K. He's a clown, bro. Ain't nobody dealing with a guy like JJ Redick. Nobody. And it just goes to show you that a guy like that is a problem. When you have guys like that, you don't know what's going on and what means to be the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got this Outriders logo with the what you call it, the pyromancer. That's the eruption skill. If you ever play that game, it's a great game. It's a great role playing game. It's somewhat of a what they would call looter shooter, but it's not. It's really a role playing game slash shooter. You can play co-op, whatever. If you ever, in case y'all wanted this Avatar, that's where it comes from. And if you play the Pyromancer class, mid-range class, like I said, see, niggas don't have mid-range in the NBA no more, but Kawhi and DeMar DeRozan and plus SGA and who else does mid-range? Brunson. I can go on and on. And who else have mid-range? AE, Anthony Edwards or Ant-Man. Yeah, that's it. It's a handful of guys that do mid-range. I'm sorry. It's just basketball always going to be that type of game. Three-pointers is just an added bonus. Always remember that. Because I used to play ball in the day. I stopped playing probably in 2012. I'm still out of shape. I got to get back into it because I used to play ball. My shots a little off. I need to get back in ball shape. But the highest I went was high school. Yes, I played ground ball. I did it for some years, and I understand how the game evolves now. These people try to play like AAU players. That's why they're so trash right now. But it just goes to show you how sorry the world is. That's how you play basketball. That's how you play basketball. No, you don't. You play basketball a certain way, play both ends on the floor like I did. I was a defensive player in high school. That's all I was. I was not much of a scorer like that. I mean, I can score when I want to. I'm very selective, but I always get the ball and put it to the basket. Sometimes I pass it. I actually pass a lot than score. I do both and do it all. But once I score, I get the opportunity and I hit the final shot. That's me. I'm one of them people, but sometimes I love the defense enough to make what it gives me and then the offense what it gives me, and then I just take advantage of that. I was one of them. I was very effective when I was younger. I miss them days. I mean, my burst is probably gone, but I had to have the right shoes to play, and that's it. And it's cool as hell, bro. Yeah, man. I miss them days, man. I miss them days when you actually play ball and all. Like I love it. I mean, basketball is one of them sports. I treat it as such. I fell in love with it. But nah, I didn't. I fell in love with it. But the difference is, I love other things too. So that got in the way. And I use basketball as a crutch. That's the one thing I enjoy it, but I appreciate it. But I didn't think this was going to be something um, good for me when I got older. But I used to play in the day. I mean, I wasn't no pro or anything, but I was one of them guys in school that play playground ball. Yeah, I was cut 3 times. I tell my story all the time. I ain't a damn shame about it. At least I made the team freshman year, unlike them niggas where I come from originally. But yeah, the game has changed, man. Like they just like to space out. And I saw some stupid YouTube videos talking about this guy disappeared. They doing podcasts. Go find Rasheed Wallace with Sheed and Tyler. Just go subscribe to that channel. Just type in Sheed and Tyler. It talks Rasheed and Wallace and Tyler something. Talk about his career, how the NBA works, how regular season works. That's why I listen to Kenny and Shaq and Chuck sometimes. They all right. But Shaq was right about Tyrese Halliburton's father. They do it all the time. And Chuck and Kenny Smith are fucking sensitive little bitches. That's all they are. I hate to say that about it. Chuck is a type of person. Charles Barkley, shouts out to him, respect to him, but he acts like a little bitch on this take. Dude, you spit on a fan in the 80s. It was a girl. It was a white girl. Like, come on, bro. So-called white girl. But come on, bro. Like, nobody would take you serious. And this is why he did it when he was in Philadelphia. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? That's why he's not welcome back in Philadelphia with the Sixers organization. They don't mention Charles Barkley. He kind of ruined that franchise. Let's keep it real. That's why the Sixers ain't going nowhere. I mean, Allen Iverson was a great period. I respect the Allen Iverson era, and I always loved watching Allen Iverson. I'm not gonna lie. If I see a Sixers game, it'll be him. Just with the Knicks, I'm not a fan of those teams, but I'm neutral on the Sixers in that division. My favorite team in that division, to me personally, is the Raptors. Even though I did like the New Jersey Nets, but they went to Brooklyn. So I'm neutral. I got 2 neutral teams there. I got the Nets and the Sixers. But I prefer the Nets go back to New Jersey. I always like the New Jersey Nets. I'm not going to lie. In that division, I have a lot of Eastern Conference teams I like to watch. But to me personally, I look at it like my favorite team all the time is the Pistons. And my Pistons is doing good against the Knicks. I mean, they down 6. They may be put out. They may not. I don't trust the Knicks to win it either because I got Detroit winning the series, even though the Knicks should close it out. If Anthony Clowns is not your closer, then Jalen Brunson try to be the closer, it's going to be some serious questions about the offseason. And it's not looking good for both teams. Detroit's going to get Jaden Ivey back. They're going to get their guys back, and they need a couple more pieces. Like I wouldn't say pieces, a couple of guys, a couple of veterans that have been there and done that, and that's it. Detroit needs to look at that. Just saying. But the Knicks, I just don't trust the personnel. The owner, I don't care for. James Dolan, he's trying to do what he does. He's already looking at an investment with his aunt and his nephews to get the team. Just think about it. Think about it. See, why would the owner sell the team? And I'll tell you why. He is a minority owner now. He was the majority owner the whole time, but he gave Magic. No, excuse me. He's the majority. Excuse me. He is the majority owner, but he's got a minority owner, Magic Johnson, to help him out with the team. That's saying something. Magic's got a lot of ownership, man. This is wild. But speaking of the Knicks, let's look up the Knicks, the history. Let's look up the New York N words. New York Knicks. They're actually called by their original long ass name, by the way. They still call that. They still call them, but they call them Knicks for short. They still call them the New York Knicks. But they call them the New York Knickerbockers. That's their actually their name. The New York Knickerbockers is shortened and more commonly referred to as the New York Knicks. They're still called that. A lot of people try to say they're not called that. Yeah, they call the New York Knicks in modern terms. But if you want to go by the team's name, they're still called that to this day. I don't care what nobody say. They are the franchise home team, NBA's probably prestige home team for the league. They represent the league. And they also, yes, in the Atlantic Division, but they also a part of the association. They're one of the originals. So of course they're going to protect the Knicks. That's a hometown team representing the NBA league. Think about that. They can't go nowhere else. And that's just who they are, And yeah, we know the history. They established, blah, blah, blah. They came in 1946 when all the others came in. Yeah, we know about Madison Square Garden. To this present day, they ain't moved nowhere. Let's see. The president is Leon Ross. He aight. General manager Garrison Ross. He's aight. And a lot of people try to say Coach Tibbs running those guys. That ain't his fault. That's just certain players didn't do their responsibility. But SA got upset. They also gave up a lot of picks for Mikal Bridges. And that's their team. That's who they are. Ain't nobody caring. Nobody give a damn who they are. And they was the division since 2013. That's when they won division titles. They ain't the best in their division. So conference titles they won 4 times. I remember 94 and 95. I remember those. The ones they won was 1972 and 1973. Now, the championships was 1970 to 1973. Now, the conference wasn't a big thing back then in the 70s. They didn't win the conference. No, excuse me. Yes, it was. Excuse me. The conference was. Excuse me. I was about to say something silly. Yeah, they were. So, okay, 1970 and 1971, they didn't. Yeah, they wasn't a leader of the conference, even though they won one in 1970. But that 73, yeah, they won the conference and they won the championship that year. That's their second championship. That's their last championship since 73. So you already got the retired numbers and everything else. I'm just looking at the history, because I always refresh my memory with the Knicks. I remember this growing up. I used to read them in the library books when I was young. Yeah, Knicks history is typical. It is what it is. Eric's experience Avdob. The Patrick Ewing era, the Knicks. It's just like crazy. Ain't nothing changed. They still have the Miami Heat rivalry, the Pacers, and all that. Yeah, the Knicks has been historic what they've been doing. Oh, what's going on, Ice? Salute. Yeah, man. I'm just saying, man, if the Knicks try to play well against my Pistons, man, hey, it's a done deal. But I just don't trust Carl-Anthony Towns. I love Jalen Brunson. That boy is a beast. He's fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie. Jalen Brunson played well, and what's it called? K Cunningham's the future. But SA be lying like he mad because Detroit has got a squad. They're missing their players, but they'll be all right. But I think the Knicks, They looking for Mike Malone. I think he got fired with the Nuggets, and they've been talking. So I knew this was coming, and I think Cam said it best. Y'all ain't gonna get him. Y'all may not get him. It's a possibility. It's a possibility because I think what Cam is trying to say, if you're originally from New York, you know, and I mean, I haven't visited. I got some family in New York. Don't get me wrong. I got some on the Long Island side. I think I still have an uncle in Queens. I'm not sure. I might visit there one day. I got to see. But man, Madison Square Garden has always been like. I remember that growing up. That building is loud. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that is a story franchise, especially the league ain't gonna get rid of them. I'm sorry. Let me tell you something. There's 3 NBA teams that has family ownership, but they represent the newspaper, which is odd. And you can get their newspaper on apps on Android and Apple. You know, I think was it the LA Times, I believe. You got the Chicago Tribune, you get there, and the was it the Wall Street something? I forget the New York Times, excuse me, New York Times paper. And then you get their other papers, and what they're saying is that's what these teams represent, even though they don't want to sell their teams. So all the other large market teams, I just mentioned what Knicks in New York, Bulls in Chicago, Lakers in LA. Now the Clippers, they share the same newspaper just along with the Lakers, but they're not as popular as the Lakers, of course. But the large market teams, because we just counted the Clippers, they're different. They ran by a Microsoft owner, a billionaire. Then you got the Vegas billionaires in Dallas. Who else? Houston's different. They got some billionaires. Probably got some in the Hawks is a large market. That's Atlanta. Atlanta's not popular. And let me tell you something secret about Georgia. Atlanta, the city itself, everybody don't care about Atlanta like that. But if you live outside of the state, you know, because I reside in outside of Atlanta, you know, in Georgia. But it's not a flagship town. It's a baseball town, but it's not a flagship town. I'm just gonna keep it real. That and others. And who's else is large market? Oh, the Wizards. That's and I'm missing somebody. I think it's them. Yeah. Okay. Houston, Dallas, got Clippers. The 3 I mentioned is ran by families. And what's the other one? I'm trying to think. Boston. They just sold their team and they're the defending champs, but it's the same blueprint type people. They always win. It reminds you of a little bit of other organizations, but they got that Yankee spirit, that baseball team. They're always in the playoffs every year in green uniform. But the only difference is with them, the Celtics, they've been winning for the last couple of years in playoffs, but you know they've won a championship. What was it last? Yeah, last year. And this century they won at least 2. Lakers won probably what 5 or 6 in this century. I'm not. Yeah, so they won the first 3 with Shaq and Kobe. They won 2 with Kobe the last time when Shaq wasn't there. So Kobe gave them 2, so that's 5. 6 championships, if you want to count the bubble ring, they would say, right? 6 championships in this century than the Celtics. That's amazing. Lakers is good, but I just don't believe in Luka. He plays like James Harden. We'll see because he is talented, but it's gonna be a great series. I'm just saying. I look at these teams for what they are, but you got a lot of large market teams that's ran by billionaires now. Besides the 3 I mentioned, the Knicks and the Bulls and the Lakers. It's pretty interesting, and you got the Wizards. They're a large market because they're in DC, even though they move around a little bit. You also have the Nets. I forgot about the damn Nets. Yeah, that's ran by a different billionaire group person. I forget his name. They need to go back to New Jersey for one and just give Brooklyn an expansion. All these large market teams, man, a lot of salary dumps. And Golden State, I forgot about Golden State. Golden State's another one. That's the San Francisco. That's large market. I want to make a list one day. I might have to do some content on that. I might do which one's the better large market teams people go to. I just mentioned the Warriors. They're the originals of the league when it was known as Philadelphia Warriors. Sixers is one. Philadelphia. Yeah, that's another one. Philly. The Nets. Knicks. Celtics. Who else? The Raptors. That's a large market team, by the way. Toronto. That's it. They ain't no sort. They're a large market. They're popular in Canada and the rest of the U.S. Because they've been talked about. They recently won a championship in this century. Who else is large market? The two Texas teams, Houston and Dallas, and I believe the two LA teams and the Hawks. And I mentioned was those are the large market teams in the NBA. Now the mid market teams like Cleveland, mid to small, I would say like Cleveland, Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, right? And who else? Very small market. You already know is OKC, Utah, Sacramento. They used to be known as the Rochester Sea Grand slash Royals. And the last championship they won was back in 51. And they were the Kansas City Ohama Kings in the 70s, but they were the Cincinnati Royals in the 60s. They said, who's the Cincinnati Royals? The Kings. Look at their history. That's the same franchise. They got the same crest, colors, and everything. The only difference is purple, black, and silver now in Sacramento. They moved to Sacramento back in '85. I remember that too. I remember the history of it when I was a kid. I always liked that team. I always liked their franchise. But you know, they problem is historically and currently front office. They have good talent, bad front office that don't want to win. I won't be surprised if a billionaire buys them out and stay right there, do what Balmer did, and build around it. I'm just gonna keep it real. Because what he's doing with the Clippers, man, from Microsoft, that's saying something about these teams. These teams can be bought and sold anytime. Hell, look at Boston, defending champs, bought and sold. I try to tell you, this AI owner culture, the NBA culture. If you look at what the NBA is doing now, these owners, they dictate what goes into players. It's basically the players and owners control the league, not the coaches and the GMs like it was back in the day. And that's what they try to do now. NFL try that shit, it don't work. It only works for basketball, sometimes baseball. If you love the players too, they try to do that because these leagues that have long games like baseball, basketball, then hockey, it's leaning toward that. Everybody tries to be like the NBA, and that's the sad part. And they got the most money, and they overseas a lot. So there's talent in basketball. It's just the NBA to me. A lot of people say it's overrated. It is overrated a little bit because when you talk about the Lakers and Celtics and everybody else all day, I understand. Now the Knicks, they're just you know, I won't tell you a secret about the Knicks. When I was growing up, they were okay in the 90s. They thought they had something. It was a dream. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to beat that curse from 73. Now the 80s, they was impressive. It's just the 21st century, they've been up and down, and they have some talent. But the thing is, people, if you're from that area and you're from New York, and the real Knicks fans will tell you, even the ones that visit down here in Georgia, they tell me, and they told me one time I used to work 2 years as a server or barista work wherever in a car dealership in another company. I was in another company working for or work amongst the Lexus company. That's a whole nother story on that. I'm not gonna get into detail and diss nobody, but I used to work there. And we talk about sports a lot, and I clean my workstation, you name it. But when I found out when I serve New York customers that are Knicks fans, they tell you they disappointed every time they get somebody bad or good. They know the player, but if they don't do well, they just say fuck it. Y'all need to watch the movie Eddie. I used to watch that movie as a kid growing up, and I always thought that is a typical Knicks fan. I try to tell my dad that that's who they are. That's just I get it. I understand. They love that team, man. They'll die for that team in the casket game. They don't even care. That's one in franchises you can never get rid of. If you look at all sports have a franchise like that in every league and every sport. That's the one team you cannot get rid of. I forget what football, which team they can't get rid of in football that does okay in the playoffs and then loses a lot. I can't say it's the Browns because Browns don't count. I can't say none of them teams. I gotta find somebody that's been there long and never moved. It's hard. I might come up with it. I think it's one of them teams I'm about to mention. I can't say the Bears. They old. Cardinals moved around. They were original Chicago team known as the Morgan Athletic Club. It's a whole nother story on that. I got history for days with these teams. But then baseball, same thing. It's just what it is. But New York sports, I think they've been up and down. I think the women's basketball is doing well in there. I think Cam said that. And he's right. But it happens, man. It happens in every city. Every city ain't gonna win all the time. And Philly just won the Super Bowl. The Eagles. I thought that was pretty cool too, beating Patrick Mahomes. And the man's got 4 rings, so he shouldn't be tripping. He'll come back better and stronger. That Taylor Swift thing really messed him up. I'm just gonna keep it real. I'm not a Chiefs fanatic, but I say, look, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They are what they are. I remember when they was mediocre in the late '90s and early 2000s. They nothing. And then you got this simp that used to be on his fake podcast for 4 years. Hell, we built his channel. If you want to talk about 4 years ago, I built that nigga's channel. Helped him in platinum. That's a whole nother story. Trying to steal someone's style. He try to say someone be. He always say this too. This is a tactic with these 2.0 so-called manosphere. That section of them. They always want to iterate. They're stealing our styles. But no, you stole it for someone else from 1.0 in the combination. You was followers of it. I never stole nothing from SWP. Never. I have my own phrases or whatever. He's from Philly and other places. A lot of guys live their life. You know, they did the website thing, they live their life, and sometimes donation stops. They just have to move on. You know, circumstances. Everybody's got their lives to live. You know, you live your life certainly accordingly what you're doing. But this nigga right here, man, I trolled him for probably 4 years. The first half of the year of '04, when I mean not '04, but 2024, not 2024, 2021, excuse me, 4 years ago, that time, and y'all know who I'm talking about. I call him the prophet over here. He's a clown. Yeah, rhymes with with a car that's well known, but take the N off of take the B off that name, and you know what I'm talking about. That nigga, man. I won't explain why I was on his platform. Now, the very first beginning of that 2020 year, when I did it on a cell phone, when I was recording, when I was talking about utilitarianism, because I learned what that was, and I heard BGS, and he had a video of that, and how I got into that shit. That shit was wild, and because he misspoke what it really meant. You know, it is hedonistic and things like that. People have those tendencies and philosophy. I talk about a little bit the words they be using, and I did my own little research, some pros and cons to it. I think I posted on there. It's an old video. That's how I started out with the channel at first. That was my main intent. Different content, mix of the historical stuff, mix of how things were, how people move and stay on here, especially on these relationship content creators. They're really a bunch of simps and sissies on here. I don't want to say the other word, I don't want to get popped, but you know how YouTube is. I would love to say if they let me say it freely. And that's what these dudes are. And they're just looking for ass and pussy. I realized that in the beginning. I saw this probably 5 years ago in 2020 before I met this dude in 2021. Now I knew who he was 5 years ago. He was hot at the time during the pandemic, and they fell in love with his little microphone stick. He tried to be a podcaster, and I told him the next year when I met him finally that the incident with him and three syllables where I call y'all know who I'm talking about. I can't stand that nigga from backwater Mississippi. He's a clown. I don't fuck with that nigga. And fantastic, or should I call him, Fittinelli? I always call him. I tease him because of the George Floyd shit. He's a clown too. All of them came from Obsidian. I'm gonna tell you the history about him. All these niggas came from Obsidian, and I nicknamed him because he's so oblivious, and I call him Oblivion. He don't even like when I say that about. Yeah, you diss Sir Ism, call him Sir Jism. He had jokes for him, but he's a clown too. They all come from that same old space where BGS comes from. If you notice, these niggas has been soft forever. And when the hosts challenge him on different panels and their own panels, they always clown them. They don't respect them because they know these guys are losing on the internet. They don't even show their face. I show my face a few times. You see my old stuff. If you look at my whole channel and even vlog streams, I show my face. I ain't hiding from nobody. I'm still right here. There's nothing they can do about it. But this concept of them saying we need to correct females and women, talking about women in general. No, you don't. Women correct themselves. Sometimes it's okay to correct them in certain areas, but if y'all, it's just you two. If y'all talking about this marriage shit, like they always talk about, you got to go outside and do that. I've done that before. I've done that years ago with my ex. I don't even talk to her no more. Now, what type of insane person go back to the ex? That's some sucker simp shit to me, and I'll tell you why I say that. Because there's different levels of simps. They're the same. They have the same motive, but it's different hybrids of them now. Back in the day, it's just used to be two types. Now it's like hybrids of them. You see them online. I was like, these dudes. And one thing that killed me, what they say, one of these niggas say, I got a simp story. When I heard that shit 5 years ago, when they said that shit, when I was amongst them on panels and I started in the chat room and then the panels and listening to their bullshit just to entertain it. These niggas is weird. And then 4 years ago, when I met this dude, they was on some super duper simp shit and they thought they was players and they wasn't. Somebody called a bluff. Somebody called a bluff. And you know what's so funny? They got exposed for that. And he probably deleted that long live stream when I did with Dre. while I was sitting this, I have a different chair in here right now. I'm in my room just chilling with the microphone. I could speak without the microphone elegantly better, but I prefer the mic so I can block it out so I can talk because I got people in the background, walking and shit. I just want to focus on y'all, like, to be better. Now I can do it without a mic. I can go outside and talk to y'all like this on a long line. I can do that. That's easy. That's super easy. You can have a podcast can be anything. You can use a cell phone, you can use gear, you can use no padding on the walls, have a quiet space in your room or in the closet. You can do whatever. Hell, you can do it underground. Hell, you can do it. It's how you do it. See what's wrong with people. You need everything. Now, if you want to be a superstar podcaster, yes, you need lighting. Yes, you need the microphone gears. You need all that. But here's the thing. Here's the secret they don't tell you. You got to talk elegantly, and you have to talk with great presentation. You got to know what you're talking about. And here's the thing: what they don't tell you on podcasts, you got to do your research on people. You got to learn how to read people. If you don't do that, and I told this nigga this too 4 years ago. I've been knowing what podcast was years ago, but I didn't understand the microphone aspect of it at first. See, I was more of a what they call the modern digital shit, what they do with the phones and shit, and they call that podcast. Really, that's not podcast. Podcast can be anything. Gear is just the main piece. But the main piece is do not follow everybody with the same microphone. I found this out too. Get different microphones. I'll tell you a secret. Yeah, I started out with a USB mic in August of 4 years ago. About that quadcast. I'm gonna tell you about that, and I'm gonna tie this in how I know this nigga is a clown. When I got the quadcast, I did some research. Basic USB mic. USB mics are good for start. You know what USB mics are good for? In general, they're good for YouTube. They're good for platforms like YouTube, Rumble, TikTok. Oh, they're good. They're good for a lot of stuff. Video game, I know what they are. They're good for entertaining live stream chat. That's what they're good for. As long as you have a decent basic mic USB, you're good. But I didn't know this. I'll tell you a secret. When I got into actual gear like audio interfaces and mixers, I did not know that they could be connected to these internet-like computers, like a Chromebook or Apple or regular computers. I didn't know that. It's more to it. But I did my research about the compatibilities. I'll tell you a secret. If you have trouble with getting gear with the right computer or correct computer, check their compatibility list for your gear. And I'll tell you a secret. See, Chrome deals with PreSonus. I got an audio box right here, right now. The latest audio box Go. That's plug and play. It's similar to like a USB mic. You get one of those mics that have the XLRs and you just stick it on there and, with the mix and all that. It's really simple. I didn't know how simple that was. I said, damn, I tried to explain this thing. I said, damn, you didn't tell me this simple. I thought he knew about mics, but he didn't. He's a clown. He's a fucking weirdo. But he's a clown. I like trolling his ass just for the hell of it, for context and study niggas like this. I said, these dudes is clowns. They ain't talking about nothing. They always talking about pussy this, pussy that. Got no real content. Got no real content talking about relationship content. They said they're a dating coach. I'm trying to help these women, these females. No, you're not. You teach them how to be whores again. You got whores on your channel. They don't care nothing about you. I don't care if she's a whore or not, or whatever. She's trying to reframe herself. She's trying to be a proper woman. That's good. But dudes like this claim that they're players. I seen his type before in school, and I seen this in the workplace. Niggas like that, they don't last. Especially on this internet shit. I'm gonna tell you a secret. They don't last long. They're bums. Yeah, we know bitches are bums too on other platforms, but what are you? Two bums. This ain't got nothing to do with you. Anybody can be a bum on this shit and make it. And here's a secret. If you make that type of money, if you don't know how to save and you become a hyper consumer, you're a bum too. Because the billionaires don't respect bums. I'm gonna tell you a secret. They pick and choose who they want. Why you think Jaguar getting all that dough off that channel? Real life what they call that real life podcast shit that they got. And then she helped blew up because she has some information. Somebody's paying her that. Come on, man. It's just these niggas is stupid. He can't tell you about no podcast. I told that nigga getting the podcast. The reason why his channel is somewhat big because we had something to do with it during the pandemic days. That's why his channel got big. And he did the same shit everybody else do. See, my channel didn't get big. I'm grassroots. I'm the evergreen content. Yeah, I took some of his prayer. I'll say one. I admit it. But it's not really nothing. Yeah, it's evergreen, but I'm the definition of what they would say evergreen content creator. But I'm a mix of that. I'm a mix of a little bit of information, have a little entertainment when I had those streams with those boys over there, and especially over here on my shit. My shit was lit too. I was getting views, and people ask what happened. Well, niggas fell out, and it happens. It's just part of the game. I got other content to look at. I don't have to do content as much. I got old videos that get more views than the live streams. It don't really matter. Live streams just extra views of my channel, and that's how I extra subscribers behind it. Y'all can look at that stuff all day you want. Great conversation about other things, what's relevant at the time. We was in the pandemic phase of the second year, and we said a lot. Me and Drace talked about Neil deGrasse Tyson on one of them streams, talking about science, where we're going in America in the future, and everything. They're trying to get into space to Mars and shit. Just on any stream that we talk about, long ass conversations. Just go watch all of them. You know what I'm saying? Just take your time. Just pick a day on your watch. So just pause it and then and come back the next day and watch it. They were hour streams. The most I did was 12 hours live stream. I did that before during the pandemic because everybody had nothing to do. I had a lot to do. I have a gaming system. I got combination stuff. I got books I used to have in my closet. I used to have a bookshelf with black books. I have all that. I gave those away though to the library because I don't need them no more. It's so much information you look online. I still read books every now and then. I don't make it a habit because I used to do that. I was one of them. I did play sports. I did all that. Did the book thing. And I could be a somewhat of a nerd, half a geek, whatever you want to say. But I understand the tech culture. I understand the modern culture too, and the tech culture at the same time because everybody's on cell phones outside when you meet them, which is crazy. And that's why World Class said it better. Yeah, I saw this in the workplace years ago. Yeah, I was outside talking to people socially. These dudes is socially arguing weird because they got their ass beat when they were children. And they told me about their dirty little secrets, privately, not privately, public on their platforms. And these dudes is weird. And you can go on his channel. He even said that about these niggas. And I looked at his channel. He's very accurate. Everybody's saying the same thing I've been saying. I would say about 4 years ago, and study these niggas 5 years ago. What they was really about. They wasn't about helping the fellas, the men, and these boys out here. No, it was about ego-driven narcissism. And narcissism goes with both genders, by the way. It's just different levels of it. You got your textbook. My dad's textbook. He has a little narcissism in him, but that's who he is. I forgive him on some things. He ain't perfect. He's just like everybody else. I know his type, but he was taught that. And then you got the ones like I give example like a LeBron James or a Donald Trump type. And someone say he's a narcissist. Yeah, that's who they are. And they were probably born like that to be polarizing. But the problem is they don't live long. Like I said, they do live long, but they don't. Some do, some don't. The ones had that mentality, they usually get offed on the streets. Some of them do die, and some. I'll tell you a secret how they get away. How they live so long. Well, they have people around them. I'll give you an example. LeBron's got people around them to keep them alive, but they don't live that much longer. They don't live 100 years old. You'll find out they live to be 74, 69, or the longest they probably live is be 80, but they don't live to 100. You know what I'm saying? 80 to 100 is nothing. That's just extra act. Like in the scriptures, it's 70 years. Yeah, some do make it to 7 years, but most of them on average, they don't live that long. Unless if they have a violent lifestyle or whatever. But the guys that cheated their way, like your LBJs, your Donald Trumps, they have a team around them to make them live longer. But they ain't gonna last forever like that. They ain't gonna make it to 100. They might make it to 70 or whatever. Trump already made it, but he's fucking up his legacy, who he is. That's why a lot of people don't care for him. He's food at this point. He's mincemeat. But it's just people don't like him like that, and what I think I saw something on online. There was a guy talking about how Trump, he used to be a Trump follower, he used to be a Trump's cabinet and all that years ago, and I forget his name, but he said he broke him down to a T and side, and everybody's saying the same thing about him. And he's been a clown. Like Trump's been a clown all his life. That's why people don't like him so much. I understand why, but you got these dudes in these space have that mentality too. I just want y'all to know that the 2.0 manosphere are a bunch of narcissistic idiots. And I hate to say it, they have a utilitarian mindset. They don't have a nihilistic mindset. A nihilist person is they're actually authoritarian a little bit. They used to start out as far left. I hate the system like anarchists, but deep down they lean towards the right on the end. Like that boy in North Korea, he's more of a nihilistic person. He don't care. He just kills shit. But it ain't just him. It's a lot of people like that. But you do have a lot of narcissistic people in the world. A lot of people say that's natural. No, it's not natural. That's something that's unnatural. If you read the scriptures, you should not have that mentality. That's a sick mentality too, and it's illegal in the scriptures. I'm gonna tell you that. They didn't call it narcissism back then; it's called something else. But if you study utilitarianism, that's evil too. It sounds good on paper. It sounds good when they create systems and things like that. I talked about feminism on this channel a little bit and brought the history of it, and I brought John Stuart Mill. I mentioned that. I mentioned that. I mentioned that. I mentioned that. I mentioned that 4 years ago, and I mentioned that 4 years ago because I said, why did he had his system of utilitarianism? There's two types. You got your quantitative. That's what's the German Bethlehem. I'm going back to BGS, his bullshit about he don't even mention them two. I'm the only person that mentioned them two in these spaces, and I correct him on one. No, it's hedonistic. It's created by two white men that had that. The other one, he actually helped what you call feminism. Now, feminism was created by those women, but his say mindsets were they have a male mindset. They were what you call pick me's, these mammy bitches. They were utilitarian people and evil as hell. They priced that narcissism on you, and that was their thing. But the men created that concept and want you to think with one emotion. See, narcissistic people think like that too. They ain't just like, we know the tenets of what a narcissist is. Like, yeah, know it all and a person that gaslight, all that, the keywords, the phrases that you hear people say. Well, here's the problem with that. Their philosophy is utilitarian. And they said, sir, why you call them utilitarian? Because they have the same mindset. If you study openly classist liberals, which y'all call racists, right? They don't be quiet on the left side. There's no such thing as a left leaning liberal or right leaning. They don't exist. They always lean towards the right. Always remember that. When you hear Trump talks about rhetoric and rhetoric with the brown people, which I call Mexicans, whatever. I don't use the word Hispanic. I use the word Hispanic to the Spanish people in Spain. That's Hispanic people to me. Now, these people over here, we can say they half Hispanic. I don't use the word Hispanic to them. I just call them brown Americans, whatever, a different part of America. If they from Latin America, if they from South, I'll say that. I'll go by their master. I never use the H word on them because they don't deserve. They do speak Spanish a little bit. Some of them speak different languages. You got some countries speak multiple languages. If they've been to America too long, they probably have about 8 languages in their belt. They got their Spanish, they got their English, they got their other shit. Depends on how they travel. But I never call them based off their Spanish history. So some of them are mixed up with different nationalities. We don't know who's who out there. Hell, I can go to Colombia and I say, "Are you a full Spanish person?" They say, "Yeah, yeah." And then you find out their backgrounds got a little white in them from another country in Europe and other. It's weird, everybody. I ain't say everybody's mixed up. I'm saying people's mixed up with something. You can't call them because most of them are mixed and quadroon anyway. So there's a lot of confusion in the world. That's why America is a land of confusion too. But you got dudes like Trump that has this narcissistic slash, has a utilitarian mindset. Their mindset is utilitarian. Utilitarianism is not positive either. It's got some pros and it's got some cons. Good pros on other things, but a lot of cons. But they're not the standard proof of what's going on, what we see now. Some people are trying to get away from that. It's secular and things like that. But you got guys like Trump and these people in these spaces that think like that. Now, it took me Now, 5 years ago, I was studying what they were on. I knew what the terms were, like narcissism and utilitarian were, but I didn't understand why they are so similar. It took me like that year, I think that the 4 years ago that I talked about it, I said, I'm amazed by it. And then years after when I stopped talking about that stuff on the channel, I really understand what this group. I had to make some at the time, I was just doing content, but now I look at it now, I said, yeah, these dudes are been weird the whole time. But 4 years ago with this nigga, right? Because he has that complex that they don't live long. Them guys is the street guys that have a little narcissism, they don't live long. Like I said, those are the ones that don't live long. But the ones that cheat and get helped by sociopaths and little psychopaths in politics and whatever it is, military, wherever it is, movies and Hollywood, all that, the Freemason stuff. You know why they get a pass? They have a support system. It's like when you have 40 billionaires lined up, give you some money and try to make you a millionaire, right? And try to tell you to do the right thing. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to give you opportunity. But if you have that narco mind, the narky mind, right? Slash utilitarian philosophy belief system, it's a dangerous thing. And then if you're polarizing like Trump, natural born in you with the philosophy. Some people are born like that, and the others are weren't. They was taught. It's two types. Sickening. That's what you got today with these dudes, man. They're not men. See, men move in silence. You have to say it. Most men, when I was growing up, my grandfather, he World War II and everything. Respect to him and everything else. I don't care about the country's wars and all that, the propaganda, but he did it at the time when race was a thing. Now it's not a thing now in this city. You can't use the word racism no more on either side because it's stupid. Everybody's integrated fully and gentrified right now. If you go to these suburban neighborhoods like where I'm living at now, everybody's gentrified. They're gentrified in the hood, you name it. Rich, you can't do that no more. No. See, these motherfuckers are stuck in the early 21st century and the 20th century. We don't live like that. We're in mid 21st century. People don't care about that no more. Everybody's having intercourses with the other groups of people, brown people, you name it. They coming to your house over here. That's what Trump don't understand. It's over. That them days is dead. Only thing that comes close to that, you got niggas that think like you with dark skin. Trump's one of them people like that. He's sick like that. And this white people say, well, we use the niggas not to let the women win the elections. What happens if they do win? It don't matter. See, this country is going to go in a collapse like that. They don't want a female president. And I said it'll never happen. It's a possibility you may never know. If she's going to be controlled by the same people like we got, like Trump and anything, you got to look how politics is. Most of it's fake anyway, but it's controlled by an invisible hand of a group of people that's always dominated this country. And there's already class warfare. I think Willie P said it best. SWP said, there's a lot of friction amongst the white men, the young men when it comes to money. And there's some truth to that, what they're saying. But what they're saying is a bunch of lies. A lot of it is their fault too. Whoever you date is your fault. These dudes got issues. They got a combination of a lot. It's a lot of sexual issues, a lot of non-sexual issue conversations. They don't know how to talk to anybody. So I don't use the word incel. No, this is beyond incel. This is insurgency right here. This is terrorism. What they promote. that ain't masculine because masculine men try to save people from terrorists. These guys is boys that look like men, but they have boy mindsets, and that's why you have a lot of prostitution, a lot of things out here running around disrespecting these boys, and these boys are dangerous. They having boys too, so by the same idiots that they complain about, you are what you attract, you are what you eat, you are who you are as a person. You should know this by now, and I always said that to them 4 years ago. They never listen. That's why they didn't make a stupid ass podcast talking about the same bullshit ain't nobody gonna listen to. And they asked me about these niggas. These niggas is bitches. They will never get the dream unicorn girl like the females. Like they always talk about the females need a unicorn. Well, these dudes do too. They do the same unicorn bullshit as well. That's why these dudes are fucking clowns. They cannot go past go. Let me tell you something. They will never last in a real podcast. If real players and former pimps or you name it, I ain't a fan of the pimping thing, but I understand they're really half of them are really. I call them players to be honest with you. A pimp that's a word that was invented by the other group of people, white people and others. Now, black people, how we used it, we looked at them as players. We didn't look at them as like when I was growing up. Yeah, I had an uncle, a half uncle. He was a pimp and everything, a low rent pimp, but he thought he was a player. You know, some of them were players. Like shouts out APTV. Yeah, he looked at them as players, and I respect that. But most of them were players. They should never call them pimps. To be honest, with pimp rhymes with, the S word simping because you got a lot of them are simps too. Like this dude claimed that he's a player and a pimp. Dude, you're a simp. You got that type, and then you also have simps that want ass so bad and want to gatekeep. That's why everything is so down on the internet. Always remember, all your entertainment stuff, like they always want to talk about, oh, that stuff has been going down. Ain't nobody buying that shit. Hell, you can look that shit for free. You don't even and not only the free sites, but you can look at the stuff on the social stuff, right? And they showing you on the other platforms. You don't even have to go the illegal sites on the dark. You don't have to do all that. You know why? Because they're pushing it so far to the point you already see it, and these dudes can't complain. It's kind of like what you see in movies and games and messages in them and what's on the news. People are losing their minds out here. We understand that, but these dudes are the worst because they're encouraging the wrong people to go out there to do dangerous shit, especially overseas traveling and tricking off to things that you don't need. And they try to tell you, I got a passport because I'm a player. No, you're not. You're a simp. You just can't get no ass. It's a fact. And I used to have friends that were real players, man. Like, and some of them lived that travel lifestyle. Salute to them. Just be careful. Most countries don't like us like that. That's why I used to listen to Black Pride back in the day. Black Pride with a Y, right? He was the coldest dude on YouTube. He went after everybody. He knew this shit was gonna be downfall. It's just common sense at this point. Stop trying to complain about ass. That's really what it is. End of the day, you're going to have to learn that it's not all a lot really about that. I'm just like, what is going on with that? They complain so much about butt so many times, and I got tired of that shit. Yeah, I listened to that shit about from 5 years ago on 2020 Independent with the other side of they asked their rivals, and then the other here, oh boy over here. Now it's 4 years, 5 to 4 years ago. That shit's played out after when we got out of the pandemic. That's when you start seeing the numbers dipping on their channels. They talk about the same old stuff, and that's why people had to diversify. My channels was one of those places 4 years ago like that, and then they trade, and my numbers kind of dip a bit. I know why, because some things, I was on that, but I had to get away from that. It took me a while. My numbers got back up now. Even the live streams is good. I don't have to be the best. I've done this before. Live streaming is not my thing. It's just a thing that I use to keep my content relevant. I give y'all those like every other Wednesday. I might do something different, like Thursday, whatever. I'll do that type of content. But you understand what I'm talking about. But the culture needs to be cultured. So yeah, I used to do Thursday thrills. I used to do all that. You can ask any um person that did it. They were good times, great conversation. You can look at all of them. I had my little moments. And I ain't saying I'm perfect, but I'm just saying that's the stuff that I got into. But this nigga act like he the man of God. He the prophet of game and shit. Nigga, you ain't shit. No one gives a fuck about you. Every time he has one of them podcasts, I laugh. These hoes be chin checking him. They disrespect him. They cut him off in conversation. Sexy Red tore his ass up. I told him what Sexy Red was. No shot at the shots at the Red anyway. I don't hate Sexy Red like that. I never will. She's a decent person, decent female. Even though she tries to say I'm a woman, okay, we'll say that. If she a good woman, that's cool. That's her viewpoint. Now I know who's real women offline and online. I can tell if I have a conversation with, it's a good thing. I don't hate women, and I don't hate the females like that. Females gonna be who they are. They just want to be. They won't be single ladies. I call them ladies, whatever. Instead of using F words, let's say ladies. Single ladies that are decent. They're trying to be proper women out here. They don't have to be married. You can just live your life. If you say you're in marriage or not, that's cool. So I got a long story about my family's their marriage for 40 years. I'll never do that. That's a lot of give and take and balance and teamwork. Yeah, you gonna have disagreements. Yeah, did someone cheat? Yeah, it comes with the territory if you get married. Like this modern marriage, what we call it. But a lot of people say, what will you say on the street? And what them niggas used to say on the street? They said sex is marriage. It is in some degree. That was back in the olden BCE era / this era. But in this modern futuristic era, you can't do that no more. It's actually, they want you to do the ceremony with the ring and the paperwork. So that's their definition of marriage. See, that's that utilitarian shit that they brought into the world in America. Let's keep it real. 18th century shit. That's all it started, that concept. But it started in different cultures in Western Europe for years and years around that century. I try to tell you, it's all created in that century. Everybody is brainwashed into that concept. Think about it. This is a worldwide problem. This is not an American problem. This is a worldwide problem. People still believe in it. That's why you got a lot of narcissistic people like Trump exist. They don't rule the world. They just damage the world. They're fake rulers, but they don't have no real power. And the other ones is like them is a mix of sociopathy and that. That's a dangerous mix. And you got fools dictate our lives like that. So that's why you got a lot of terrorism around the world. Republicans, they love terrorism. They always do. Democrats, they just want to be the police and want to lock you up. They pretend to be people that say, what's a Democrat? Democrats are fake liberals. That's all I'm gonna tell you. They're really conservative on the law. I studied this when I used to work for 2 years, didn't understand when Obama was in there in that 2016 year. A lot of niggas got locked up in that year, early part of February in Georgia. A lot. And they eventually got out later on the next year under Trump. And Trump didn't free nobody. He just helped himself and certain people that's like him. And that white dude was saying about him, so-called white dude was saying him on the podcast. He was telling the truth about his ass because he got people fooled. And that's what they do, man. You gotta understand, just like these niggas in these spaces, they're the same type of people. They're bots. They're fucking slaves and morons. That's why they can't get no ass. You want to get some ass? It's really easy. Spit some proper game. Have some finesse about yourself. If you don't have that, you're done. I just don't see people teaching the young fellas out here. That's what you got to do. If you talk, it can be a bitch or whatever. I don't have no issues in that area. I really don't. The conversation have me like a drop of the dime. It could be male or female, but females or women, right? If she's married or not. Um, and if I give her a good conversation, we talk about anything. It don't even have to be about sexual shit. Non-sexual conversation is sacred for us men. I keep it sacred because it can turn into other conversations, especially with a woman or a female or whatever or a lady. You know, it gets real like that. Especially you have a certain voice, certain cadence. So everybody's different. I may not get that a lot, but I get the with certain ones they struggle with. I get them easy. I told them niggas that, and they had like a little podcast, one of them shows, talking about how to get this and that. I was like, nigga, I know how to do all that. That's nothing. That nigga didn't teach me shit. Hell, I was teaching him the game not to care about him. That's power, and I'll tell you why. They always call back to you. It's just the truth. But you can't get mad at them for thinking that. Let them have their viewpoint. They could be wrong. Let them be wrong by themselves. Don't argue with them. Because the real men don't argue with these things out here, especially with women or low grade, low value, low grade females. These dogs. I tell them that's why I call them. Be like, "Roo." Be like dogs that to be barking. Like, "Roo, roo." You know, that's how they be dogging. They be cussing you out, calling you this bitch ass nigga. You know, you hear that a lot. You hear it online. But I just learned from them. I said, damn, that's what they like. Where they at? What nigga done bust them in the mouth and crack their head open? You know what I'm saying? But these niggas, they act like they know the gospel of women and female, and they don't know nothing. They're simps pretending to be players in these spaces. And I've noticed that a lot of people say, "Why is him?" No, it ain't just him. It's a lot of niggas try to emulate him, and they do the same shit. It's the same. They on the same side. You gotta understand. Oblivion tried to push that shit, aka Obsidian. That shit didn't work. That's why Fantastic, all them guys is bums. He used to be married to a wife, right? He's got what, 3 kids? He blocked me years ago over some political shit. He's a hoe anyway. He's from Macon, Georgia. He's a slow nigga from Macon, Georgia. Ain't nobody studying that nigga. You chase that pussy for what, 16 hours? They keep joking. And I'll tell you why they keep joking that. I'll tell you why they keep joking on him. I'll tell you a secret about him. The reason they keep joking on him, he's an automatic simp anyway. He don't mind. He's the type of guy that he'll admit, he said it on this online. He don't mind buying pussy. He has that mentality. I understand who he was years ago. He's a C word, yes. I mean, a lot of people respect, that's cool, but I don't fuck with that nigga. I treat him just like a simp. Like that nigga that he see when they was cool with Kuda's ass and all them, they're all simps. It all makes sense because they don't have quality women on their platforms. So I'm just keeping it real. Now Ty C is different. He's anti this and that. He keeps it somewhat balanced, but everybody else don't care for him. But you got niggas like these two fighting over the box. Ridiculous. And that's why I don't fuck with BGS no more. Like I tried that shit until he blocked me. I think was it 2022. I stopped for I went in on his ass. I said, dude, you just a hoe. I don't respect my elders. I don't respect elder niggas like him from a boomer generation, a bunch of punks that they are. Should I say bundle of sticks? I ain't gonna say the other word, but you know what I'm saying. But that's what they are to me. They're trash. Low grade, low value little boys. They don't even deserve to be called men. Men get honor and respect over here. They earn that. What others see you doing hard work, you earn everything. They shake your hand, do whatever. That's what men do. They hold each other accountable. They hold themselves accountable first, then they hold someone else accountable. See, I live by the scriptures, scripturally. That's what we, or orally, how we want to live. That's what we're supposed to live. Not this sucker shit crying about, I need to get some ass to get my day going. That's how these niggas talk. Like I'll never forget that 4 years ago. I'm glad Ice brought it, everybody else brought it up. I said these niggas is crybabies, bro. They crybabies, and that's all they talk about. and that's their content. I understand the reaction channels I be posting on the other pages. Salute to y'all on the other platform. And I'm just saying, like, I laugh at these dudes. It's actually entertainment. But when the hoes diss these niggas, it's hilarious. Like, I was really trolling that nigga for 4 years. I don't really care for him no more. It's just I treat him what he is. And he got exposed, and what's the name? I call her I called the slug. They said, who's the slug? Bomb Cherry. She's sluggish sometimes when she talk, but she has some good points. One thing about Bomb Cherry, I did have a good time when she was over there with that nigga's platform. Hell, we had a good ass time, and she exposed certain dudes out there, and she exposed him for what he was. And he said he fumbled a thick chick, big chick, or whatever, what they call themselves with BBWs nowadays. That term's been used since 2003 when they had a model named Rockland. She was a school teacher and broke the mold. And they tried to say Lizzo created. No, it was created by a white woman named Rockland. Don't ask how I know that, because someone had a picture of her as a model and she tried to do the skimpy stuff and all that. And it got saturated in 2010. From 2003 2009, if you look at adults, so you understand that they were the standard. They was online. People promoted on MySpace in certain areas. I was in certain communities, and that wasn't a thing at the time. Dudes was not into them like that. Now, yes, black man's a stereotype hitting those things. That's what these dudes know. Yeah, but how they know that? They learn it from those sites. They learn it from different groups on the internet when it was not as popular like it is today. Because see, mainstream media destroyed the internet. I'm gonna tell you something. They destroyed the internet since 2012. That's why you hear the terms like what? Social media. I remember back in the day when I was younger, they call it social networking. They didn't call it social media. Who came up with that term? Boomers. Boomers. They came up with the term social media. And why they use the word social media? Because you know what that means? Social mainstream media. That's what it should be called, because YouTube is not social media. YouTube is a video sharing site. You share your points. That what do they call it? It's not subscriber videos, but it's something different back then. Video responses, they had video responses back in the day. I think me and Wack could talk about it, and that was the standard on YouTube. If you didn't do that, and if they dispute, it could be anything, politics, anything. Oh, I remember them days. They killed that. Mainstream media killed that. That's why they use the term social media. They calling everything social network, social media. You know why they call it? Mainstream media owns these platforms. They did. They destroyed all of them. Even TikTok was manufactured. It's fake. Instagram, fake. Twitter, known as X now, fake. It's crazy. Stop blaming the internet. You dudes want the internet. The internet is the modern day uh, information now. Y'all clowns for that. Like, y'all don't understand that when y'all use the SM term by boomers created, you're saying sound just like them, because yes, they control half of the internet, but they're losing power of the internet because our generation is trying to correct it, saying no, this is social networking. Yeah, they call it social media for the modern terms now because everybody's on that spell. But you're really networking. You're not in no media that has gear, tons of gear, research papers, teleprompters. We don't have that. I hate when they use the word social media. They misuse it. I'll tell you what's a good term for social media is good for. I'll say like Rumble's new. They're new. What else is good? If video sharing sites become like what they call SM, yeah, you can say like Rumble, their competitors a week. There's Vimeo. You got all types of stuff, but YouTube won't be the number one SM, but in reality, they're number the video sharing site. That's how they got the term social media, and they try to coin YouTube as the social media term, which is a dumb term by boomers. It's a network, and social networks will be like your X that used to be known as Twitter, Facebook. That's social networking, and what you ignorantly call social media now, and then MySpace. So I hate when people use the word. So there's no such thing as SM back in the 20th centuries and way back then. They never used that term. You never hear it in books. You never hear it at the time. Go to them old interviews. Did they use the word social media? No, because I never heard of it. No, that's some shit that people made up. And I'm trying to tell you, this is modern terms. If you hear modern terms, it go back to 2012. That's when they start saying that shit. And I'll tell you why they're saying it now, because people are trying to sound so smart, but they're not. Do your history and stop saying that. Like, I know who coined that phrase. Forget that guy's name, but his generation of my dad, they're sorry. They're the ones that ruined the internet. I hate to say it. That's why you got these dudes and these weirdos in these 2.0 spaces. It's that generation, a mix of mine and these weak motherfuckers from Gen Z. That's what's killing these young men out here. It's a combination of losers that think like that. It's the mindset I can't stand. There's some decent dudes in the 2.0 space they need to get away from and have their own mind and do their research. But you got a lot of clowns in that area. That's why you got a lot of dudes. They talk about a whole lot of shit about everything and not apply it, especially when they're divorced. Losers. I would never take advice for a loser that's been divorced and not do the work and be responsible for his children. I don't believe in out of wedlocks. That goes for both genders. I don't respect you. And he tries to say, that guy's a pookie. Where are you? Pookie means lame, dummy. That's a weak ass term by a boomer. And I hate to say that. My mother nicknamed my cousin, his name is Montez right there. Rest in peace to him. And his nickname was Pookie, but he was a drug dealer. You know what happens to Pookies? They get their brains blown out. Y'all need to see First Time Felon by Mike Epps. Not Mike, excuse me. Omar Epps, excuse me. Omar Epps and what's his name? Tretch from Naughty by Nature, right? Omar Epps and Tretch played in this game movie called First Time Felon. I've seen it multiple times in recent years on YouTube. And that's the most underrated movie out of all those black exploitation movies, like what you see from Boys and Hood and all that. But the best black movies that has mix of street and everything else is, I think, is Original Gangsters. It had a little some science in there with Jim Brown and Robert Roundtree and the other guy, I forget his name. Yeah, and got Pam Grier in that, and then what's the other one? Not Original Gangsters, South Central, some good movies like that. Those movies, and then you got First Time Felon that came in the late '90s and had Omar Epps. He was playing a vice lord. Another guy was a GD. That was Tretch from Naughty by Nature. But if y'all watch that movie, how he got arrested and Pookie was on the drug corner. He was a drug dealer. He was a rat. Yeah, they went to boot camp. I ain't gonna spoil the whole. If y'all haven't seen it, if you have, you know what I'm talking about. You'll realize don't listen to half of the segment of the stream. If you can turn off and now fast forward, whatever, and I'll get back with you. All right. So this part right here is very interesting about a Pookie, right? Well, Pookie saw someone get violated sexually. I ain't gonna use the actual term, but you know what I mean. Gang shit, right? But his boy Omar Epps, I forget his name. His name was Greg in this movie, by the way. His name was Greg. He had to have a monitor. He went to boot camp, but he never been to prison before. He'd been to jail. And he was on the opposite gang called the Vice Lords on the west side, right? I know the movies aired different in different area, because Chicago was bad at the time in the late '90s. You know how that was. But that's a rough period. And it's rare that they don't air this on Roku and all this other stuff. You find on YouTube, First Time Felon. You can look for it. I think you can look for it. And it's pretty interesting, but it's called First Time Felon. You can just look it up on YouTube. It's an old movie about the two gangs. And you start to know what's what. I'm just keeping it real. Say First Time. Yeah, it's a long movie. Just type in First Time Felon. It's a 1997 movie with Omar Epps, and it has that guy that played the boot. I forget. It starts with an L. Lindor. Yeah, him, and it has Tretch from Naughty by Nature. That's a great movie explaining what a Pookie is, and then how he ended up. He did die and got killed by an enforcer of that gang with the Vice Lords. And that's very telling what a Pookie is. And these niggas misuse the word Pookie. Pookie just means lame. Etymology means lame. I don't care what nobody say. That's what it means. And they always use the word the Ray Ray. Well, there's no such thing as a Ray Ray, sir. Is Rodney's and whoever, Ray, all that. All that they're considered Rodneys, like that nigga always say. Yeah, you got a lot of Rodneys, Sydneys. They got all the hoes, the typical black names that you black exploitation movies y'all done heard. But most niggas wasn't named no Rodneys and Sydneys until afterwards. Years ago, you had a lot of Gregs and Matthews was cracking these hoes down in the church, doing the same shit, sucker shit, have them out of wedlocks in certain groups. Don't get me started about the integrationist Black Panthers. They were trash. I like the ones with Khalil Muhammad, but them other ones, no. That Bobby Seale sold out, Angela Davis sold out to the white people. Nah, I can't, bro. I can't. That's what these niggas sound like. And they're very fake pro black over here trying to claim it's for the black man. No, you're not. Y'all coons. That's why you got white people looking at you, sky watching y'all's content. Y'all suckers. That's why I don't fuck with O'Shea. He's a clown. He's a sucker to me. Because these dudes don't represent the black man and the black male experience. They don't represent that. That's why they're clowns. But shouts out to everybody, man. Shouts to the people that skywatch. You know, I just want to make this quick. You know, this is a daily hump dump, the 28th edition. And we talked about a lot of things. Yeah, I talked about sports, playoffs. I talked about a little. This is an update of what this stream is going to be about. It's just a simple update. It's a lot to talk about. I talked about a lot of things. What's going on in the playoffs is typical shit every spring, you know. And yeah, new age next month. But it is what it is. So, you know, I'm not tripping because approaching the 4 land, you know, it's a whole nother story on that. But you got guys on here complaining about the same old stuff since the pandemic. It's just pathetic. And that shows you y'all's brains is fried off these relationship content. And there's nothing wrong talking about it, but talking in the right context has been a relationship. Last time I was in a relationship, that was years ago, and I left that game shit alone. I was like trolling niggas about they fake playerism. You know, that's their they try to say they players, but they're not. And other players look at them and I said, look at these niggas. It's crazy. It's been real. Shouts to the ice that came in here. Appreciate y'all that skywatched. So with that, until next time, shalom to the people of Israel, to the Gentiles. Until next time, I'll see y'all not this next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after next. As always, I'm signing off and I'm out.